Okay, I'm back again. And this time I want to wrap up today's own series because in all of it, it's actually been around the subject matter of opening your mouth. So I will give you a little recap on the aspects that we have already touched. And when I'm done with that, I will shift into today's, or let me not say today, to the last part of this talk. I started out with Psalms 81 verse 10 rather. Psalms 81 verse 10, he says, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. So he says he's our God. Next he tells us, hey, be aware, I've freed you from slavery. So don't have that mentality and don't carry that consciousness. You can't be a slave anymore. Then he then said, open your mouth, meaning anything that is trying to return the Egypt experience back to you, stop it by opening your mouth. Be vocal, be expressive, learn how to talk. Tap into your right to speak out, right? And it says, open your mouth and I will fill it. So there's also fulfillment when you begin to make necessary demands. He that asketh, receive it. He that seeketh, find it. This righteous man cries, the Lord hears and delivers him from all his trouble. So once there is a need, learn to talk. If you're hungry and you can't say you're hungry, you probably don't get food. If you need a job, you can write, an application asking for a job or asking someone to help you find something to make ends meet. Then you're likely not going to get it. You see, the breakthrough comes when you learn to talk. Your words, the words of your mouth. You're taken by the words of your mouth. You're snared by the words of your mouth. You must be able to talk. A nation that strives and succeeds must have a people that can talk and be expressive. So there's nothing wrong about talking, right? There's nothing wrong about talking as long as it's respectfully done, has a purpose, is geared towards a goal. I talked about Daniel. Please check out the previous and early videos. They are still on my timeline. Look very much like this because they happened the very same day, right? Same t-shirt, same dress, but different videos. So scroll down the timeline and find them following the time they were posted, and you'll get the entire difference. Then you'll see when we went on, we talked about blind Bartimaeus. This was a very important, it's a 30 minutes old series. And we're talking about, being responsive in terms of people opening their mouth and never shutting up, and then how the government can respond in matters like this, and politicians and leaders can respond in issues like this. But right now, I'm going to run through another text of the scripture, just in case you were wondering where the Bible reference for the previous ones was from, Mark 10, 46 to 52, right? So we're going to be reading the book of Luke 18 this time around. And this Luke 18 will be taking verse 2 to 5. So it's lesser than the verse that we took the last time. I want us to look at these verses. We're looking at the scriptures on the backdrop of the things that are happening in the world today, especially in our country, Nigeria. So it's against this backdrop that we are, examining this current lesson. There are demonstrations on the streets, young persons that are asking for an end to brutality and at the same time demanding reforms sort of that will stretch out into other aspects of governance, and make things, put things in place how they really should be. Now, in verse 2 of Luke 18, hear what the Bible says. There was in a city a judge who feared not God, neither regarded man. Now, I just watched a video, part of the prison break video from Edo State, which is, totally shocking because we don't exactly know how these things happen and what's going on, right? Because the protest itself has been peaceful, all through since it ever started, peaceful. We have pictures and photographs of protesters cleaning up the streets, attending to medical needs of one another, helping people get to the hospital, attending to, it was a union, a unity. And it's terrifying to people who prefer to see people divided. All of a sudden today, this week, we're beginning to see vandalization. We're beginning to see things that never were part of the protest from the previous week. So something must be responsible. I don't think the protesters who have had it peaceful will suddenly want to start breaking things down when it doesn't have any advantages. It doesn't give them any advantage. It doesn't give them any leverage. There was absolutely no, in fact, they have better chances when the protest is peaceful than when it's even violent. So there is no gain for them. But let's look at the fact that I saw a video of a young man who was talking about being either in prison by 2016 or 2017 and has never stood for trial, never been tried. He's just been there in prison awaiting trial. Now, I don't know how true those stories are, but before then I had made a post about the legal system and this whole thing about after 48 hours, people need to be charged to court, get tried, almost immediately checked, look at the case, see the merit of the case. If it is something that requires the person to be detained, the trial judge is going to determine. If it is something that's flimsy, the judge is going to look at it against the backdrop of the law of the land and will declare that person free to go, right? If there are fines required, well, the judge is going to give his judgment. But we have scores of young persons in prison, behind bars, who really should not be there, and who have actually even overstayed. I don't know what the law is as concerning awaiting trial, whether the Nigerian law stipulates that you can await trial for the rest of your life. But I think if that's the case, then you've been already sentenced. And if you're innocent, that's injustice to me, because there has to be a timeline for these things so that we know who should really be in jail and who shouldn't be in jail. Not just anybody picked up from the streets and cut into the prison, then spends the rest of his life in prison and loses his entire existence, over speculations or over accusations that have not been verified. So if the justice system in itself is not just, is not fair, then there is a problem. And this woman's story started out with that. So we need to clean up the legal system and make it so strong and stand by it in such a way that the law enforcement agent themselves will know that if they arrest somebody, the person must stand trial. And if the person stands trial and the judge discovers that you have actually dragged a young man to court, right? You can't even accuse of anything tangibly because you've got no evidence. And if you're made to pay for that decision, if you're made to pay for that abuse, you won't do that the next time, right? You will not do that the next time. And so we want a court system and a legal system that stands behind the people, that cleans up the system, right? That holds the leaders and the people in authority accountable. And that way, before anybody else thinks about committing crime, he knows he's going to appear in court. You know you're going to be a witness. You know you're going to present a person you arrest in court. You know there's going to be a trial. You know that you are also going to be put to test. And for that reason, a lot of persons are going to be very careful and very conscious and very selective how they met out their injustice. Now, in the case of this woman, Luke 18, verse 2, saying there was in a city. Now, take that to be like our country, a judge. Take that to be our judiciary or our justice system, who feared not God, right? No respecter of persons, right? Good. Neither regarded man. And so at this point in time, it's no respect of person, fine. But then, what about regard for man? You might say, okay, I don't fear God, right? But what about regard for man? What about regard for the young man, his destiny, his program, his purpose, his mission on earth? If you're going to have to put him in jail, it has to be justified, not just because you want to throw somebody into prison. And so the judge stands, for the masses. Between the justice system comes between this younger generation and jail. You really get to determine if this person really deserves to be punished, by such difficult, and that has to be the very clean justice system as that. Now, verse 3 says, and there was a widow in that city. Who's a widow? A widow is somebody who has lost a husband, right? Good. So the masses fall in the category of this widow. And the masses are those group of people that have lost a lot already. So that's the point. They have lost something already, and something there to them, and something precious to them, something that makes them complete, make them know that they are a part of the city and a part of this nation. Now, the masses there, he says, there was this widow, a widow in that very same city, and she came unto him saying, avenge me of my adversary. I want you to stand with me, right? And, give me justice, because those who are fighting against me seem to be mightier than I. What strength do the people have if they are faced with police officers, like I said the last time, that are with guns? And police officers that do know, officers that know that when they shoot you, they can get away with it. Military men in uniform, whatever you might call them, that swore to protect the citizens, right? And they have the weapons. They were given these weapons so they can protect the citizens. And now they turn it against the citizens and they tell you they will shoot you and nothing will happen. They make this statement so boldly that you begin to really wonder, why do they do this and get away with it again and again? So it comes to a point where even the system become an enemy of the people, right? The politicians are driving on the highway. You see them with the siren and they're blowing in the siren. It's loud and it's out there. The people providing security for them will jump right out of the road, ram everybody off the road, beat up a driver who is probably not fast enough to get out of the way. They will clear them off, and the rest of these politicians will sit down and let their escorts do that because, you see, the society comes to the point where the electorate, is now being treated as an enemy. And those who are supposed to stand for them start treating them like trash. There is no regard for the average citizen. If there is a regard for the average citizens, our roads would be better. If there are regards for the average citizens, our power supply would be much better. There will be balanced taxes and levies. There will be water, potable drinking water. If our leaders really have regard for us, you will see that they won't let you drink water that can kill you, water that is not treated. Today, almost every home around have borehole systems, and some of this water comes straight out from the ground. Especially now that the water level is high and all those filth and deaths are all coming up. People are drinking this water and typhoid is spreading and the flu is back. And these things are happening over and over because some of these politicians, once they get into power, it looks like the people are the enemies. And there is this conflict between them and the people. The protest that is going on right now in the streets of Nigeria, the government think the people are the enemies, or the people think the government are the enemy. So there is this friction between the government and the people that you find that at this point, you don't see that synergy that should have existed, that union, that unity that should have existed between the people and the government. Now, this widow who lacks something that should have been cared for comes around to the justice system, comes around to the law, the constitution, comes down to the law enforcement agent, comes to the system, right, and says, avenge me of my adversary. I want you to stand by me. We need a nation where the constitution can stand with the people, where the laws can stand with the people, where the president can stand with the people. The protest is going on right now, and all we see are rhetorics of wanting the protest to end rather than trying to see what you can do more for the people. Within the time of the protest, last week and this week, is sufficient time for the government to roll out a lot of measures. Nobody says randomly or in a hurry, but you could roll out a lot of measures. Your dialogue and your communication with the people within the past 14 days would have been enough for the people to see how friendly, right, you are with them. Rather than the people, we've had more threats like the people are the enemies. We've seen the whole thing painted in different light. We've seen talks being released. The country and the nation continue to empower talks, beat up people, burning up cars, all of that. These keep going on and on, again and again. And it seems, listen, the point is, if we keep doing this, then we'll never clean up a nation. You can't empower people to do wrong today and think they're going to go out and do right tomorrow. They will still emerge to do the same wrong that you have empowered them to do. And guess what? They might not be doing this wrong against your enemy tomorrow. They might turn around and do this same thing to you tomorrow, because then they might be working for someone else in power when you are not in power. So you don't strengthen evil. You don't strengthen evil. So this woman says, avenge me of my adversary. Personally, this is now my problem. My adversary, not the judge's adversary, but my adversary. It's me, the lower person, that's suffering from this. So avenge me of my adversary. And the scripture says there in verse number 4, and he would not. That's the problem. He would not. Remember, the Bible says he does not fear God nor regard man, and he's a judge. Does our justice system really regard us? Does our legal system regard us? We have this constitution, but does it really protect us? Because if it does, why do we have young persons being gunned down on the streets, beaten, molested in the street? Why do we have the chaos that we have every single time during the election when we have to cast the ballot? I think that if we listen, we need to begin to listen to the people. The Bible says, and he will not. He will not for a while. There's a reason why it's there for a while, because there is a limit to what the people can take. There's a limit to what this woman will take. It's not that people don't know their rights, that they voted you in power, give you the mandate, think that they actually meant that you should go and enrich yourself and your family. And no, they will let that be for a while. And that phrase "for a while" is so powerful. It has to settle in their minds and hearts of political leaders. That word "for a while," it's a powerful word. You can't do this forever. You can't do it forever. There's going to be a time when people will wake up. When people wake up, you start acting all surprised, like, no, stop it. We don't expect the protest and the riot. What are you expecting people to do? Sleep for the rest of their life while you do what you're doing? People are going to wake. People are going to wake. And so he will not for a while. He will not give this woman justice for a while. He will not do what is right for a while. He will keep giving promises, but he's never going to act for a while. But afterward, he said within himself, "Do I fear not God nor regard man? Yet because this widow troubles me." Did you get the point? He's not doing this because he wants to be fair. He's doing it because he cannot take the trouble any longer. Because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her. Now, this is so terrible that this has become the way our political leaders respond to issues when it has to do with issues of governance. This has become unfortunate. They wait for us to trouble them before they act. And if you don't, it looks like, listen, we are all going to be out very soon. Our generation will also be past, and our children are out by the corner. And we just want to say, hey, we don't want problem. We don't want trouble. We don't want, no. Listen, we're going to hand over a junk nation to our children if we don't do something about getting up now to act. This just, he says, all right, I don't care about God. I don't care about man. But I worry about one thing, this woman's trouble. Today, the youths in this country have decided to trouble the people in power, and they are so uncomfortable. I've never seen the people so relaxed the past couple of years, and all of a sudden they seem to have lost their, they've lost their balance. You could know that from the rhetorics. You could know that from the words they are using. You can know that from the phrase that is out there. They've lost their balance. Some of them are even talking war. I saw an honorable ambassador who had actually, quote unquote, been given made an award, an ambassador of peace, talking about war, talking about using violence on protesters. They've lost their balance. They are seeing themselves as victims of the trouble right now. They don't care about God. They don't really care about the people. They are more concerned about the trouble. Their responses are more about the trouble. Oh, the demonstration is troubling us. Oh, it's not letting us drive. Oh, it's not letting people get to the airport. Oh, the protest is blocking the highway. Oh, there's a bit of that. It's about the trouble. Now, if the trouble worries you so much, then fix it. I had talked about the issues of the last time when I talked about when they said it's a visionless, it's a leaderless protest. And I said, because it's a leaderless protest, it gives you the room to step in and fill the vacuum of a leader. And I refuse to believe that you cannot communicate with the people unless you find somebody who is a spearhead as a leader. It only will open up room for people to be probably bribed or whatever, or convinced, or maybe even arrested, as being the leader of the protest and held responsible when things happen. You are the leader. As the people say you're the leader, you're listening. And then they will, some terrible things can happen. We've seen that happen before. They become subjects of attack, and nobody wants to step into that position. You were in power. Step into that position. Be that leader. Yes, be that leader, because after all, when the people voted you in as presidents and vice and governors, they voted you to be leaders. So now the youth, the people of the country, are making a speech and say, we want you to stop killing us, and you're asking them, give us a leader. What sense does that make? What sense does that make when you, who was elected to be the people's leader, is now asking the people in the protest to tell them who their leader is? For goodness sake, did they have another election? Did they vote for anybody else? Did they appoint anybody else? How could they have another leader? They've got the president, they've got the vice president, they've got the Senate president, they've got the speaker of the house, they've got governors in their states with deputy governors in their states, and you're asking them to provide a leader. Meaning that almost all the persons who are in these elected offices don't even understand that they were leaders in the first place. They're like that, George. And now the only reason they have to respond is because they are troubled, because they feel disturbed, and the whole world is looking, and they don't want it to get out of hand, because if it does, they are all going to lose their position. So everybody is falling off balance. But the main thing to do is not to beat about. Get in and step into that position. And how do you do that? You come in to be like the people, at the level of the people, in communication, in sharing. You might be harassed, heckled, whatever the case may be. I don't know. But if you can get there, fill in that void and start having that conversation. She said, this woman troubles me, I would avenge her. Lest by her continuous coming, she wearies me. Selfish solution, you might say, but it works for the woman. The woman knew how selfish these guys are. So she says, if it's going to be about me, this guy will never do it. If it's about the people, listen to me, most of the politicians will not fix any road. If it's about the people, they will not fix any road. They fix the road because they want some things to attach to their names, that they did this and they did that. They don't really care. If they really care about the people, they won't be talking about billboard adverts and all. They will let the system work. Go to a lot of states, the local governments are not working. The local governments are not working because everybody wants his name attached to it. So it's about him, about our party, about our political party, and about me. If they care about the people, they would know. There is no way they can feel the people right down to the grassroots, to every point. They need these other leaders in this section. So they will influence these leaders to do the right thing and take the development right to their people. By now, you'll be hearing of roads in remote areas being fixed, power supply, potable drinking water, even tax-free zones for small businesses to get business started and running until they come up to the level in which, yes, you can start taxing them. There's a whole lot. But this woman knows this judge is never going to do that. It's never going to do it. And so if it's going to be about her, then it's not going to happen. If it's going to be about us, a lot of things wouldn't happen. So that's why there is a protest. What's the essence of the protest? The essence of the protest is to trouble you. It's to trouble you. That's it. The protest is not to pamper you. I don't know why some people expect that the protest is going to be so. Listen, this protest hasn't even been so civil. Look at what is going on in the US. They claim to be protesting, but that's a riot. Burning down cities and causing all those havocs out there. That's even a riot. This protest has been so civil. And yet everybody, you are acting like it's such a burden, and it's such a trouble, it's such a pain. Well, if it troubles you that much, fix your problem then. And the only way you fix your problem is by getting on to start doing more. And I said, spending so much time trying to get people to stop the protest, it's almost like a wasted energy. Spend this time doing what you should do for the people. I don't think this judge came out saying, stop knocking. Women, stop knocking at my door. Stop banging my door. Stop calling me in the middle of the night. Stop trying to throw, to trail my car and run after my car yelling. Stop doing that. You're disturbing me. Stop it. I will attend to you when you stop. How in the world are you going to tell this woman, tell this widow, that you will attend to her problem when she stops? Okay, woman, we have submitted your form. We have sent up, we have actually asked that the man be arrested. Those who are disturbing you be arrested. But the woman hasn't seen results. And you expect her to back down. No, this widow doesn't back down. This widow keeps coming until the judge himself says, this lady is going to weary me. Is going to literally run me down. I'm on a 5% battery power because of this woman. She's actually totally drained me. And so you're going to use that remaining strength you have and attend to this woman. Maybe that's what we all want, to get our road started. Do we need a protest to get our road started? Do we need protests to have good road, drinking water? Do we need protests? Do we need all that? Before some of you will step out and start banning protests, and probably somebody's going to one day ban the Constitution. You need to think about this. You need to think about this. This is a scripture that tells us about a system that refused to work for someone that needed it the most. And she decided on her own to raise up a one-woman protest against the system until she was able to trouble the system enough to get up and do what it ought to do for somebody that didn't have that much power. The people might not be as powerful as you think, but don't undermine the strength of a unified people. I want you to step out and listen to the people. Listen to the people, at least for your own sake now, because you need the peace. So you can sleep at night and know that your country is not burning down. For your own sake, so you can have peace and enjoy that money you have and all that. Because if the country goes into a very serious chaos, I wonder how you're going to enjoy that wealth and who is going to call you Lord and Master with that wealth. You want to enjoy it and fix this problem now. Fix this issue now. All these counter protests that you guys are planning to stage. Let me say this before I wrap this up. Buhari is not the opposite of SARS. And Buhari is not even SARS. When people protest against SARS, do not equate that with protest against Buhari. When you then bring I stand with Buhari protest as a counter protest to end police brutality, people say end police brutality, you say I stand with Buhari. End police brutality, I stand with Buhari. End police brutality, I stand with Buhari. What are you trying to create? You're trying to tell the people that, okay, Buhari is brutality. Why would you be? Somebody say, end police brutality. You say, what's so wrong in ending police brutality that you have to challenge it with your love for somebody? It's unnecessary. You need to think about how you place your protest. It's not every single time we've heard of this I stand with. Nobody cares. Nobody's interested in that. Nobody's interested in that. Leaders are elected into office to do their job. Do your job. Do your job. Our job was to stand and elect you, and we have stood. People have stood. They have elected you. You're in power. Do your job. We don't have to stand for the rest of our life. Anyone who thinks that has his job to stand and keep standing, it's his problem. But brutality has to stop. The police has to be reformed. People have to be paid what they are due. There has to be portable drinking water. There have to be good roads for people to use. Our children need to go back to school and go back to real schools. Nigeria can be better if we all want to. But if that's going to happen, we have to all be fair judges. I thank you very much for spending the time to listen to me. I'm Stewart Godwin Johnson. And I do hope the series of talk that I have discussed with you from the viewpoint of the Bible have registered some sense, some ideas, some opinions that you might borrow if they make sense to you. You're free to make your comments and ask questions if you may. And I will share my thoughts because these are just my thoughts. These are just my personal opinions. So I trust you might find this video also perhaps on YouTube or on my Facebook page, my Facebook profile account. I trust you'll be doing well. God bless the youths of this country, bless this generation, bless Nigeria and bless its leaders. Bless the fact that we have a purpose and we have a goal. Help us with necessary wisdom to reform our system to work in our favor. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope to see you next time on this podcast. Whenever you see this come up, expect you to be the best. I appreciate your suggestions, ideas, counsels, and all. Bye-bye.